Presidential Activity, November 2019. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met with the Prime Minister and the Ministers of Planning, Follow-up and Transportation. The meeting discussed the executive position of the current projects of the Ministry of Transport, especially the Railway Network Development Project. Sisi met with the Prime Minister, the Minister of Transport, and the Chairman of the Board of Directors of the American Rail Company, PRL. The meeting witnessed the follow-up of the agreement between the Ministry of Transport and the American company for the supply of new railway tractors, as well as modernizing and upgrading the tractors available at the ministry. During his meeting with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Transport, Sisi directed that efforts should be exerted to modernize and develop the transportation system in Egypt comprehensively and enhance the capabilities of this pivotal sector qualitatively. President Sisi met with the Prime Minister and the Ministers of Health, Population and Finance to follow up the full implementation of the decision to raise the minimum wage at the level of institutions and government bodies in the Republic. The President was briefed on the procedures for implementing and operating the comprehensive health insurance system in its first phase. President Sisi met with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Education and Technical Education. The meeting dealt with the latest efforts of the Ministry of Education regarding the comprehensive and integrated modernization of the basic education system in Egypt at various stages. During the meeting, the Minister also reviewed the process of developing curricula in conjunction with specialized international bodies. Sisi met with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Housing, Utilities and Urban Communities. The meeting reviewed the plans and projects of the Ministry of Housing, especially with regard to the structural implementation steps and financial aspects of a number of ongoing new urban communities. Sisi inaugurated a number of national projects in the governorates of Sousse and South Sinai. He announced on the sidelines of the new opening of Al-Nasr Intermediate Chemicals Company that the state will open many projects in the coming period. President Sisi received a number of heads of delegations participating in the 12th Conference of the Network of African National Human Rights Institutions. During the meeting, the President affirmed Egypt's keenness to promote human rights and justice for the benefit of all citizens in the African continent, consistently with advancing the development process in the continent. President Sisi met with the chairman of the Suez Canal Economic Zone Authority, Mohammed Yahya Zaki, and instructed to continue efforts to develop the capabilities of the Suez Canal Economic Zone Authority. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi witnessed Egypt's celebration of the birth anniversary of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, organized by the Ministry of Awqaf. Sisi honored a number of honorable models from inside and outside Egypt who influenced the Islamic thought in the field of ad-dawah. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received the King of Bahrain, King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. The meeting dealt with consultations on enhancing bilateral cooperation relations in all fields, especially in the light of the brotherly and cordial ties between the Egyptian and Bahraini leaderships and peoples. Sisi inspected the construction work of the Roads and Bridges Group in Heliopolis. He directed the completion of these projects according to a quick schedule, as planned, and according to the highest quality standards. President Sisi met with the chairman of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference and member of the Standing Committee of the Political Bureau of the Central Committee. President Sisi met with the Prime Minister, the Minister of Supply and Internal Trade, and the Director General of the National Service Projects Authority of the Armed Forces. He instructed to continue working to support and stimulate internal trade in Egypt, especially with regards to food commodities, and to intensify market control measures and consumer protection. President Sisi received the Russian Minister of Defense. During the meeting, they discussed ways of enhancing military cooperation and joint training. Sisi met with the chairman of the Engineering Authority of the Armed Forces. They reviewed the executive position of a number of projects of the Engineering Authority for Roads and Access within the framework of the National Road Network. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi heads to the United Arab Emirates on a 2-day official visit. Sisi met with the Deputy Supreme Commander of the UAE Armed Forces and Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. Sisi stressed the importance of continuing to unite the Arab forces to face the challenges of the Arab region. The talks also touched on ways to boost bilateral relations at all levels. After talks, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan awarded President Sisi the Medal of Zayed in recognition of the historical and strong relations between the two brotherly countries, and appreciation of the role of President Sisi in consolidating and strengthening those relations at all levels. During a meeting with a delegation from Bucharest University for Economic Studies, President Sisi stressed the importance of continuing close coordination between Egypt and Romania after the end of the Romanian presidency of the European Council. The meeting also discussed ways of enhancing cooperation in the field of education and culture. President Sisi held a meeting with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, Minister of Interior Mahmoud Tawfiq, and a number of officials on Saturday, November 16, 2019. The meeting discussed the latest developments in the security situation and the fight against terrorism. President Sisi arrived in the German capital Berlin to participate in the meetings of the Group of 20 and Africa. Sisi received at his residence the Vice President of the German Mercedes-Benz for the automotive industry, Eckhard von Kleiden. The meeting witnessed a review of the plans of the company Mercedes-Benz to cooperate with Egypt, especially in the field of modern systems and modernization of mass transit. President Sisi received a delegation from the German Federation for Security and Defense Industries. The meeting discussed the prospects of diversifying the fields of military cooperation between the two sides, including the launching of joint manufacturing projects in Egypt, especially in the light of the available and promising capabilities in this regard for the Ministry of Military Production and the Arab Organization for Industrialization. President Sisi met with the President of the Federal Republic of Germany at the Presidential Palace in Berlin. The meeting dealt with a number of regional and international issues of common concern, particularly the Libyan and Syrian crises, as well as the Palestinian issue. The informal session on investment in Africa kicked off, and President Sisi delivered a speech in which he stressed that the informal summit for investment in Africa, held in Berlin, is of the utmost importance to the investment march in Africa, pointing out that this meeting enhances cooperation between Germany and the African continent in an unprecedented manner. President Sisi received the German Minister of Economic and Development Cooperation, Gerd Müller. During the meeting, the President affirmed Egypt's interest in benefiting from the German education system and its long experience in the light of the successful experience of German schools in Egypt. President Sisi delivered a speech at Group 20 and Africa Summit, stressing that Egypt attaches great importance to working with development partners within the framework of various cooperation initiatives by encouraging the participation of various companies in the implementation of major national projects in Egypt. President Sisi met with the German Chancellor Angela Merkel. The meeting dealt with ways of coordinating efforts with Egypt as a leading EU partner in the fight against terrorism and illegal immigration, as well as the latest developments in a number of regional and international issues of common interest. Sisi received the German Minister of Interior, where the meeting witnessed a discussion on ways to strengthen bilateral relations in the security field, including training and capacity building, the provision of security equipment, and the completion of joint cooperation projects. Sisi also received the German Minister of Economy and Energy. The meeting reviewed aspects of joint cooperation between the two countries in the light of the continuous growth of Egyptian-German trade and economic relations. The meeting also dealt with the huge positive developments witnessed by the Egyptian energy sector. President Sisi met in Berlin with the heads of major German industrial companies and unions. The meeting witnessed an open dialogue with the heads and representatives of the German companies, who confirmed their welcome to intensify cooperation with Egypt to achieve the common interests of both sides. President Sisi witnessed the opening of the Investment Forum in Africa 2019, entitled Invest in Africa, and he noted in his speech that the completion and activation of the African Free Trade Zone will contribute to increasing trade and investment flows between the countries of the continent and help African countries overcome the difficulties of the global economy. President Sisi received the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Morocco on the sidelines of the Africa Investment Conference and discussed the developments of a number of regional issues of common concern, especially the situation in Libya, where there were unanimity of views in this regard on the importance of supporting the Libyan state and institutions. The President visited the Long Live Egypt Fund exhibition, the Entrepreneurship exhibition, and the Education Classroom exhibition in the context of his participation in the Investment Conference in Africa, and he talked to the youth about their projects and their importance in the framework of entrepreneurship as a pillar of development. President Sisi, during his meeting with the President of the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, affirmed Egypt's appreciation of the existing joint cooperation with the European Bank through its contribution in financing many development projects, expressing welcome to the bank's participation in the activities of the 2019 Africa Conference. During his meeting with the chairman of the board of directors of the German company Siemens, President Sisi expressed his appreciation for the achievements made by the company in implementing development projects in Egypt as an important partner for Egypt in development, pointing to Egypt's aspiration to continue and develop the existing partnership with Siemens in many domains. The President participated in an interactive roundtable entitled Enhancing Competitiveness and the Role of the Private Sector in Development in Africa, with the participation of heads of delegations at the conference, as well as a distinguished group of global, African, and Egyptian private sector representatives, as well as heads of international financial institutions. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met with the Prime Minister and a number of ministers and officials, and the meeting discussed a review of the executive position of North Sinai Governorate development projects and consideration of the proposals put forward in this regard, especially a project to reclaim and cultivate 400,000 acres east of the Suez Canal. Sisi witnessed the opening of a number of national projects, including the June 30 Axis, which includes 11 major bridges and 6 others, and it has 16 tunnels and includes a fee station for trucks and cars. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi announced the launch of the comprehensive health insurance system at the level of the Republic. He said, "We seek through these initiatives not to leave an aged man, child, or woman in need of expensive treatment, and therefore will continue to afford to treat them." President Sisi met with the governors and the deputies after taking the constitutional oath. The President directed them to engage in a prompt and effective coordination with the ministers and agencies of the state with all files concerned. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and his wife received today at Al-Ittihadiyya Palace the Hungarian President János Eder and his wife. A session of bilateral discussions was held between the two presidents, followed by an extended session that included the delegations of the two countries. The two presidents also discussed prospects of maximizing cooperation between the two countries in the field of water desalination technology and the utilization of its resources, as well as cooperation in the field of agriculture and irrigation, in addition to the field of energy of all types. President Sisi delivered a speech during the joint press conference with the Hungarian President, during which he stressed the importance of continuing coordinating stances and exchanging support in various international forums, especially in the light of the important role played by Hungary in its region and within the European Union. President Sisi received the Patriarch of Alexandria for the Coptic Catholics and Chairman of the Council of Catholic Patriarchs and Bishops in Egypt, Ibrahim Ishaq Sidrak. He stressed the state's keenness to coordinate with all the ancient religious institutions to raise public awareness of the challenges facing the countries of the region. President Sisi met with the Major General of Staff and Chief of the Engineering Authority of the Armed Forces, Ihab al-Far, and a number of senior officials of the Engineering Authority of the Armed Forces. The meeting reviewed the executive position of a number of ongoing projects of the Engineering Authority in the new administrative capital.